Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. Back to the War Room, where we are following a solo playthrough of World in Flames 5th Edition, cobbled together with Days of Decision 3rd 3, with duct tape and chewing gum and some wire. We are now entering September-October 1937. In our last broadcast, there was an incident at the Marco Polo Bridge in Beijing. It became a justification, and Japan launched a limited war against China. Siam was drawn closer into Tokyo's orbit, and the first true battles of our campaign were fought on Chinese soil, including land and air. Japanese forces advanced with alarming speed, seizing vital ground and leaving Nanjing scrambled to hold the line. In Moscow, Stalin turned inward, purging the officer corps in a sweeping political crackdown that raised Soviet authority and cast doubt on Soviet readiness, as many of the infantry armies lost their leadership in the purges. London, seeing the map harden, issued a guarantee to Denmark, a line drawn in the north, not with troops, but with commitments. And that is what happened in our political phase, as well as on the ground. We can have a quick look here on the current front line in China. This is the status as September-October starts. And the Japanese have advanced into beyond Manchuria into mainland China and taken one resource away from the Chinese, and that was basically as far as they got. The formidable garrison in the east has been decimated by the purges, but it's entirely possible that the Soviets will rebuild and redo, as it were. And Japan should not feel completely secure with the current border situation in Manchuria. But it is time for us to pay attention to September-October 1937 and the politics thereof. And as always, I have pre-prepared the bidding. And let's see what we got. We have, in fact, Italy betting 4 bid points with a bonus of +2, gives them a total of 6. We have Germany bidding 3 with a +2, which gives them a total of 5. Then we have Japan betting 1 bid point with a +4, that gives them a 5 as well. Germany has higher political efficiency, so they will go first. Commonwealth bets 1 point +3, gives them a 4. France bets 3 + 1, also a 4, since the Commonwealth they have the same political efficiency, but Commonwealth did have the initiative before France last turn, so they will go first this time too. Russia bets 1 + 3 is also a 4, but the Soviets, they actually do have higher political efficiency than both of these countries now, so there we go. They will in fact take the place after Japan. And then we have the United States betting 1 + 1 is 2, and China betting 1 + 0 is 1. So that is where we are at in the order. Italy starting. Italy being first for once. What might Italy be doing, my friends? I think Generalissimo Mussolini, he has a dearth of... And when we get to 1938, he'll be able to gear up to level 2, which means that he would want 8 resources in total. Currently, he has access to 5, which is not enough to double his production. So he will need more resources. And where better to find those resources than in Spain? Look at this place. So we're going to make a minor economic agreement with Spain, which costs 4. And so we're going to pay 4 monies. We only have... So he bid... Again, Italy bid 4 bid points out of the 8 it had. It will have to pay 4 money, so -3. It will get a +1 marker to Spain, which isn't a lot. Spain is still neutral. It's sitting right smack dab in the middle here. This is the pile of middle countries. So it needs +3 in total to move Spain. So that's not going to do it. But we will have an Italian marker for resources. And that actually does, for those of you who don't know about Days of Decision, it does make it easier to coup the country. Should Italy try to do that one day, I don't know why they would. Yeah, we all know why they would. So, let's have a look here. We have an Italian resource. There we go. Let's upload that. It didn't like that. I don't know why it didn't like that. Okay, that's weird. I'm gonna have to fix that in post. For some reason, it is not being friendly, my machine. I'm just gonna mark it like that for now. It's 1 resource to Italy. And Italy now has access to 6 resources. Italy can now also activate a minor country, which is going to be... Could activate Yugoslavia. Could activate... No, not Romania. No point in activating Austria either. Netherlands, a -2. Is the Netherlands still in... It is not. No, that's Yugoslavia. The Netherlands is still in the neutral zone, so there's no point in doing that. Also, Sweden is also very neutral. We need that 1 extra point for the move to become meaningful. I don't think Italy can activate Ireland. Not much point in activating Hungary. I think it's going to be Yugoslavia, honestly. Yeah, no problem in activating Yugoslavia. Let's do that. We will activate Yugoslavia, remove the +1 to France. This is just to block the Allies. The -1 to the Soviets was not a bad thing, but... Alright. So, let's see. We're gonna roll with a black die to see if the turn ends. That's not a roll, I'm just dropping the die in the bucket. In the die rolling tray. And let's see if the Germans get to do anything. The Germans get to do something. Look at that. Okay. Oh, and I have headlines for Italy. Let's see. Italy has concluded a new economic arrangement with Spain, presented officially as a measure to promote stability and prosperity in the Western Mediterranean. Italian statements emphasize trade, credit, and mutual development, insisting the agreement carries no military significance. Diplomatic observers see it differently. With Spain already politically contested, the pact is widely interpreted as an attempt to bind Madrid closer to Axis markets and influence, a quiet move with long-term consequences that may be difficult to reverse. Germany, let's have a look at the German budget and so on. We are seeing here a budget of 1 money and 5 bid points, and Germany had bet for this turn 3, in fact. We're gonna do a 0G here, actually. So, -3, but then it's 5 times 3, so it's 15. So we're gonna get up to 17 bid points. And that costs no money at all. And then Germany can activate a minor country. But now Germany has all the political power that it will need for a while. This is also partly because Italy used the economic agreement, which means that no other major power can conclude an minor economic agreement this turn. Finland has a -2 to the Soviets, but Finland is still in the neutral sphere. So we can't use that to our advantage. Same thing with Sweden. We could activate Norway with a -1 to Germany. Or, no, I don't want to activate Romania. And I don't want to activate Turkey. So I guess we shall in fact activate Norway. If only to block the negatives here. Again, no movements from the northern countries. The neutral countries remain quiet and unfazed, as it were. Alright, so we will roll yet again. Because I played a 0G here with Germany, it will not count towards the number of options we have played. So it's still a 1 or a 2 to play the next, for the next player to go ahead. And it's a 6, so Japan gets a chance to do something. Japan bet for this time 1 that comes out of its actual money chest because it didn't have any bid points to invest. And is therefore going to go with another 0G. That gives Japan 6 points because it only has a political efficiency of 2. So 2 times 3 is 6 bid points. But it does allow Japan to dig itself out of the 0 hole, as it were. Again, it's a 0G. Japan can activate... what? Brazil, Iraq, Netherlands, Persia, Siam. We've already activated Siam last turn. The Netherlands, Portugal. What does Portugal look like? No, we don't want to activate that. What else could do? Persia. Persia? Yeah, we could activate Persia. It's +1 to the US and +1 to the Soviets. So again, we're just negating the influence of the other powers on Persia. Japanese ministers are approaching and convincing, the ambassador is talking to the Persian government and convincing them to not pay any attention to the Soviet and British, American overtures, as it were. Tokyo steadies its course. Japan has undertaken no new diplomatic initiative this turn, choosing instead to consolidate its position and preserve political flexibility while events on the continent continue to evolve. Analyst notes that silence from Tokyo does not imply calm. Rather, it suggests a government intent on keeping its options open, conserving influence now in order to spend it decisively when timing and circumstance align, as we also know as political capital. Yep, that's a real term from real politics, folks. Okay, it's still a 1 or a 2 to end the turn, because now we've had 2 major powers play a 0G, and the turn does not end. It goes on. It's the Soviet Union who gets to do something next. Now, the Soviet Union has already played its Purge, has also abducted Chiang a while ago. I have a feeling it's going to be, because the Soviet Union is down to 4 bid points as well. The Soviet Union bet this time, what did we have here? The Soviets bet a single point, and is also going to go for a 0G. Now, the Soviets get 4 times 3, 12 bid points. So they will be well equipped at a total of 15 for next turn. Look at this. Everybody's going 0G this turn. Okay, so what was the Soviet Union want to activate? Oh, definitely Finland. Let's go. Finland -2. The Soviets approach the Finnish government to guarantee the Finnish government that they have absolutely no intention of turning their eyes towards Finland in any type of aggressive fashion. For now, it seems like the Finnish government is pleased with this approach. Yes, the Soviet Union consolidates after the upheaval. The Soviet Union has taken no new external initiative this period, emphasizing internal stability and the continued strengthening of state control following recent disruptions within its institutions. Foreign observers believe the Kremlin is deliberately rebuilding political capital and military cohesion before taking further actions abroad. For now, Moscow appears to content to wait, but few doubt it is waiting with purpose. Which means that we have once again, a 1 or a 2 to end the turn. Will everybody get to play? Apparently. Oh my. Look at that. It is the Commonwealth's turn. And the Commonwealth had 2 bid points when we started. It bet... What did I say? It bet a single 1, so it's down to 1. Which means that you're never going to guess what the Commonwealth is going to go for this time. If you guessed a 0G, you were right. Which means that this Commonwealth is going to get 3 times 3 bid points, which is 9. Everybody, this is like the first turn of the game again, all over. So now they have 10 bid points and can do something more muscular like next time. And the Commonwealth will activate what? Isn't that a good question? Could activate Sweden, actually. That gets rid of a -2 and the +1 to the Germans. Yep, the Commonwealth diplomatic efforts now will convince the Swedish government that the recent negative publicity, there is no reason to, etc. You get the point. Sweden will thus not move yet for a while. Alright. So, Commonwealth is also playing it safe. There's a lot of playing it safe right now. The British government has taken no new political action this period, citing the need to manage commitments carefully and avoid steps that could narrow diplomatic options. Officials repeat familiar language: peace if possible, readiness if necessary. Behind the calm exterior, strategic planning continues. Britain's pause is not a retreat, but a measured attempt to rebuild leverage, and to choose its next moves with deliberation rather than haste. Alright, a 1 or a 2 and it ends. It's an 8. It doesn't end, which means that France gets to actually do something. And France didn't get to do anything last turn. France bet 3 this time, which I believe is all the bid points they had. Yes, it is. It's all the bid points they had. They're going to down to 0. And France is actually taking an action. France is holding an election. It costs a buck. And has absolutely no effect on US entry or anything like that at all. So, there we are. France goes to the polls under gathering clouds. France has held national elections at a time of rising tension abroad, with debates centered on security, rearmament, and the fear of being caught unprepared. A substantial part of the election campaign will, of course, be devoted to the French possessions in Indochina and the current unrest in East Asia. Voters signaled a preference for stability and seriousness over adventure, granting the government renewed legitimacy amid an increasingly brittle international order. The election closes a period of political constraint and restores France's freedom to act. In Paris, officials speak of unity. Abroad, governments watch not for rhetoric, but for what France now chooses to do with its realigned political momentum. France also gets to... I'm going to mark this here as well, so we know that September, October was when France held an election, so in a year from now they will have to hold an election at the least in September, October 1938. What minor country should France activate? France is a little bit tempted to activate the Netherlands, honestly, because it has a -2 to France. Lots of minuses to various allied powers, so let's do that. We will activate the Netherlands and make sure it remains super neutral. There we go. French delegations go to the Dutch government and discuss the recent... I don't remember what it was that French did that caused the -2 there. Was it an alliance or a treaty? I don't recall. But they are smoothing things over. Now it's a 1, 2, or a 3 that the turn ends. And I rolled a 7. Look at that. Washington bet... How many bid points? Oh my god, next turn is going to be a mess bid-wise. It only bet a single bid point this time. And much like everyone else... Should it consider the Neutrality Act this time? No, we're actually going to go with the 0G like everyone else. It's going to get, or like almost everyone else, it gets the US 6 bid points. So it's going to end up with 7, which means that it can take more robust action when it has a little bit more money. But this way also, when they actually want to consider the Neutrality Act, they will not go completely run out of bid points. This is the time when everybody's stacking up in bid points, clearly. The US is going to activate what country? I don't know if the US can activate Spain. Let's have a look. Yes, it can. So it could be a little bit tricky like that to negate the Axis influence there. It could activate Turkey. I'll have to check. But I think Spain might be a safe bet. Yeah, let's do Spain. So the little influence Italy has accumulated will be undone by American diplomats, stating that just because you have doing business with Mussolini doesn't mean that you have to align with him politically. So Washington watches and postpones decisions. The United States has made no new political commitment this turn, with leaders emphasizing neutrality and the desire to avoid entanglements in foreign crises. Public statements remain cautious, reflecting a country that prefers distance from the world's troubles. Yet, in diplomatic circles, even restraint carries meaning. America's continued watchfulness suggests it's measuring the pace of global deterioration, preparing perhaps not to act today, but to ensure it can act tomorrow. So now we have a 1, 2, 3 to see if the political turn ends. And it did, so China doesn't actually get to do anything. How about that? That's just a little bit mean, but there we are. China bet, I think it was a single point, because that's what China usually does. Yep, it bet a single point, it gets a single point, so it always has been. Very sad for China, because China wants, if there's one option China would like to do, it is Chiang and Mao share power, or modernize the army. That is also something. Place 2 Chinese nationalists, including the white print infantry on the production spiral as if built this turn, or add all communist white print infantry to the force pool. It's extremely expensive for the Chinese, but it would be, yeah. Also, it has to have initiative lower than Russia and Japan, and US 0F is played this turn. But those two options require China to have a little bit of a higher level on the initiative scale, and yeah, that's not going to happen right now. Apparently. Alright, so everybody except China and Italy and France have stocked up on bid points for next turn. So maybe November, December will be the turn when a lot of political fallout comes. For now, we will turn to the action phase and see if the Chinese can withstand the Japanese onslaught. Let's see who gets the initiative this turn. It's a 1, Snake Eyes. The Allied had the initiative last turn, which means that they actually don't get the initiative this turn. If the Chinese want to have the initiative, they can ask for a reroll. So let's see now. Beijing is going to be slammed from 3 different directions here, which is not so good. What is the odds here? 13 plus 11 plus 12. I need math. Math is definitely my forte. And the defense here is an 8. Yeah, you've probably already calculated the odds. It's 4-1 on the assault table. I think the Chinese will want to have the initiative because that's a lot of odds and that probably is going to kill a lot of Chinese, and we don't want that. So, yeah, the Chinese is fine with having the initiative, which means a reroll. Let's spend it so the Japanese don't get the chance to attack. Next turn, however, the Axis... Oh, okay, so that didn't work out at all. Next turn, the Axis will have a +1, and they get the initiative this one. Okay, so that blew up completely in China's face. It was worth a bet. It was a 50-50 chance or something like that to roll better than the Japanese. Now the only thing that can save the Chinese capital is gone. It's just a matter of time here. Unless the weather turns out to be terrible. So let's do a weather check. The Axis roll. And it's going to be a 2. What was our weather last turn? It was a 2 as well. And it was July, August, so there's no modifier. We are getting a wonderful turn for Japan. Mud in Arctic Circle and clear literally everyone else. 2 attacks in China. Oh dear. This is very bad for the Chinese. Very bad indeed. We will do the reinforcement stage. Let's go. I should have done that first, shouldn't I? Reinforcement is before initiative and everything, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay. Sorry about that. September, October, we have some units coming in. French get infantry and fighters. Squadron of fighters. Is it a squadron? Is it a whole division? It's a bunch of fighters. That's what it is. And look, it's the Algerians. We should send them to Algeria because the Algerians should be in Algeria, shouldn't they? Nah, we're not going to do that. Let's see now. We have 2 there. We have 2 there. We have 2 here. 1 here and 1 there. But this is also the Maginot Line, so it's fine. I'm going to put them in Lille. Algerians are going to be in Lille. And they're not going to enjoy it very much because November, December, it might get snowy and stuff. Yep. And here we have some nice aircraft. What is your favorite French aircraft, audience? Your favorite French fighter aircraft? Now we have a pretty solid French Air Force, honestly. 4, 5. The 3 is not much to celebrate right home about, but it works as a good backup. So, we also have British reinforcements. Look at that. It is more fighters. I think the Luftwaffe should take heed because this is probably bad news for the Luftwaffe, isn't it? We now have 4 transports here in London. That's a lot of transports. We have fighter, a 6 as well. These are the Spitfires, my friends. Probably. According to legend and myths, right? We can have a discussion about what was the best British fighter in 1937. I don't even know if the Spitfires were online in 1937 yet. Can't remember those details, but I'm sure some of you do. Here we go. We have convoys here. 1, 2. Really? Okay, that's 1. 1, 2, and 3 would connect us to Australia. So let's do that. Convoy placement. I know it's the next segment, technically. I'm doing the Commonwealth right now, so it's fine. Just don't want to forget about it. That's all. So, past the Seychelles, the transport ships go. Into the East Indian Ocean, they continue. All the way to the Timor Sea. And from the Timor Sea, Australian resources through Darwin and whatever this city is called. I don't know. Australia's watching. Yes, Devoitin des 520. Yeah, oh yeah, I've flown that one in World War II Online. I love Devotin. I'm not a very good simulation fighter pilot myself. Too bad situational awareness, not enough eye-hand coordination, so I get shot down regularly against other players. But I just love the Devo's roll rate and the fact that the Devo has cannons, which very few fighters had in 1940. They were mostly machine guns. I think the 110 had some cannons as well, but the Devo had a 3 or 4 second burst of cannon fire, so they could really pack a punch if they could line it up against the Luftwaffe. They weren't as fast, they weren't as good at climbing, and so on. They lost a lot of energy in a turn fight, but their roll rate was second to none, so they could technically pull off like one good scissor fight against the 109, and deadly against the Stukas. Alright, that was... I got sidetracked here because I just love the Devo. We have the Lexington and Yorktown coming in. Look at that. Famous carriers. I believe they have to be stationed on the west coast. Yep. The WC means they have to be stationed on the west coast, so... Not very surprising, that is. And, of course, we had some Luftwaffe coming in as well. Some 109s, no doubt. Again, I don't know if 109s were online yet in 1937. But the pilots that would fly them are now ready to go. Definitely ready to go. Put them over here in for now. And what about in the east? Here we will have a lot of infantry reinforcements. All sorts of infantry armies are coming in here. Two different parties. The Soviets and the Chinese and the Japanese, respectively. This is a Chinese communist. We'll start in Lanzhou, as always, for the Chinese communists. The Japanese will, of course, start in Japan. And then we have the 6-3 we can pop in to the Pacific. It is probably the 6-3 that were eliminated last turn because of the Trotskyite allegiances. But now they're back again. We have some Sturmoviks over here as well. And the picture is a single... Not a biplane, but it seems like performs as a biplane. Maybe it's some very politically reliable pilots that don't know how to fly a plane. But at least they're Stalinist, right? That's all that matters. Okay, I can put these guys in Odessa or Minsk. And the Japanese will, of course, go to Tokyo. Or I could put them over here where the transports are. That's also a thing I can do. Alright, that was the reinforcements. And we're gonna have one heck of a turn now because it's nice weather. It's gonna take a while to get through this. And the axes begin. And as always, because we haven't gone actually into war with any major wars between major powers, everybody's doing it combined again. For those of you not World of Flames fans, during major war, the major powers can choose land, combined, or naval impulses, and that's not available yet as an option. Yeah, Japan is definitely gonna crush their way through here. Where? Oh, Hata is up here. No, but Hata must be here, right? Because, like, I was just searching through the pile, clearly. Doesn't make any other sense otherwise. Okay, so... Question is, do we want to try to flip one of these guys in Beijing? On a combined, we started in proper order. Let's start in proper order. A limited naval action, which in this case means Japan has 2 naval moves to do. I don't even know that this is the first one I want to do, because we have a bunch of infantry. We do need the 4-3 to land and move. This is true. But there is also this urge to murder some... You know what? Let's do these guys. Okay. So... 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 attacks eligible to us this time. I can actually do 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'd have 12 against 3, which is 4 to 1. Lovely. So we could have 2 4 to 1 attacks this turn. Oh, that is nice. This is no, it's not subtropical zone. It is in fact north. Oh, is that the one zone that actually has bad weather? But it isn't, though, is it? Yes, it is. It's North Monsoon. No, we're in September, October. It is not. It is clear. Okay. So we get 2 attacks for this impulse, and we have 9 plus 3 is 12 against 3 is 4 to 1 on the assault table. We currently do not have this unit flipped. I could wait an impulse and send down the aircraft carrier and try to do a ground strike first. Okay, let's do that. I'll wait. But the ship is out there and ready to go. So now I have 3 land moves. But before I do the land moves, I need to do the ground strikes. We don't have any strategic bombardment, but we do have a ground strike phase. And the question here is, do we want to tangle with the Chinese Air Force in the air to get ourselves a +1 in Beijing? Why not? Let's go. We know that the Japanese Air Force is not, at least the bombers aren't terribly impressive. But we have ourselves air combat yet again. It's going to be 0 on 0 here. Nobody has the advantage. 4 plus 3. This is the front fighter, and this fighter just gives a bonus of +1 in 5th edition. And this is the fighter that the Chinese have, so it's 0 against 0. The Chinese, of course, start shooting, but it doesn't matter because it's all simultaneously resolved. Anyway, that was not a die roll, my friends. Here we go. And that was also not a die roll because I was just putting them in the cup. Here we go. Let's go. Okay. Oh my. 3 from both sides? Okay. 3 defender destroys. Okay. So we see 2 planes go down in flames. A huge air battle ensuing over Beijing, and the Chinese Air Force is no more. I think this is why the Chinese built their Air Force last... No, they didn't build their Air Force last turn. Gonna have to build it this turn. Rebuild it from scratch. And Defender will destroy either the front fighter or front bomber, and we're gonna destroy the front fighter for the Japanese. Fighters are going down in flames over Beijing. And it's going to leave Japan with air superiority over China, which doesn't happen a whole lot. And I think the Japanese pilots will be celebrated as heroes in Japan and as martyrs to the imperial cause. And that's it. The bombers got through. And now we will see if they manage to get a +1 on flip any of these units. It's a 1 or a 2. And start with the top one. And that's a miss. And then the bottom one is also a miss. So as per usual, the Japanese the tactical bombers are not so useful. Alright, we have land moves now. I'm going to move that one there. That's 1 land move. I'm going to move... that one there. And this one there. So that's 3 moves. I might rail this guy to Harbin for absolutely no reason. It's a long turn. I'm sure it'll be fine. Do I want to do air transport? Air transport is... now, after land movement phase. So, yes, I guess I want to do that. And again, air transport has a range of 6 hexes on the European map. That makes for 3 hexes on the Asian map. Doing an airdrop here would count as a land attack. And it's also just going to be a 4-to-1, and if I lose any units, it's the pair that dies, so I'm not going to do that. 1, 2, 3. I could transport them there. That flips the air transport. But it does get the pairs closer to the front for next turn, but next turn will be winter. Let's do it. Why not? It's an extra move, right? Logistics is the name of the game. Alright, ground attack. 4-to-1, no pluses. In Beijing. It's a 4. That was almost a 6. 4 on the assault table is 1 lost Japanese unit for 2 lost Chinese units. And everything is flipped. That wasn't ideal for the Japanese, but it's about as good as it's gonna get in this area here. The Chinese have lost 2 more armies. The Japanese will also take their first losses. 1 infantry army down. And I think we're going to take the 5-3 out of that pile. And move these guys in. And these guys are flipped. Won't get any further. These guys will not get any further. So are these flipped? Do I want to unflip them? Yeah, I do. We get that on the reorganization stage. So, the 5-3 infantry here. They're gone. Of course, there is a 4 here, but we have an 8-4 there, so we have a chance here to basically just crush the entire northern section. That would be 11 plus 8. So that's 19 against 4, which is again 4-to-1. Or attacking Chung, which is 10, 11, plus whatever shore bombardment we can get. Or attacking in the south. Many options right now for the Japanese. But yeah, Hata will reorganize these 2 lads in Beijing. And because the Chinese have now lost Peking, their first city to be lost in this war, we are now going to have some US entry here, because there will be news from in the world about what the Japanese are doing in these Chinese cities, and as these news are splashed across the pages in the American papers, we add 4 points to the US entry against Japan, which therefore hits a 31 every time the Japanese do this. Huh, I had recorded as a 27 on my sheet. Okay, so 31. And that adjusts the US entry here to a 13 effective against Japan. -2, -2 against Italy, and a 5 against Germany. Again, we need to hit 81 for the US to be able to actually declare war on anyone, so it's going to take a while. Each time the Japanese invades and takes over a city, conquers a city, the US entry will go up. Yeah, China is in a spot of bother here, no doubt. It's going to have to take some actions. It doesn't want to lose another resource, but it needs to have some kind of line to stop the Japanese advance in the north. And yeah, where is it going to get that line? Things in the north are pretty bad right now. But that is the Japanese impulse. For the Italians and the Germans, I really don't think there's a whole lot to do right now. Not much work, really. We have some infantry here, down there. We have some air force. We have Badoglio. Where are our transports? Are they up here? Nope. Where's the Italian? There's one transport here. I think I placed it there because I wanted to send more infantry to North Africa. Or do I want to do that now or not? We're not in any hurry. So I guess we're gonna just move on here and go to the Allied. First impulse. And we're going to have all attention on China again. The communist move on the Soviet tracker. So that's one Soviet infantry move. This is Asia, so it takes 2 movement points to move across clear terrain here. I'm going to move this guy over here. Yeah, okay, why not? I wanted to move these guys, like... This one actually can get there now. Yay. Not out of supply yet. Next impulse it can move a little bit further. Because these guys with only 2 movement, they can't really move well through forest. So we might as well exchange them for some 3 movement units. You know what? Let's put this guy there. Get a little bit organized here. I'll put this guy back in Kiev. That's 3, I think. I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Look at that. Okay. Yes, the Soviets are sending resources to the Germans. This is absolutely true. As for the Allies, we are going to embark these 6-4 here, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Strengthen the... I thought I had a division on Malta, but I don't. Oh, the division is in fact in Gibraltar. Maybe I should send the division over to Malta eventually. We have things to do with the British. Not so much with the French, honestly. Like, there are troops we could move, but I don't really see any urgency to do so at the moment. So I guess we will look at the Nationalist Chinese, who are in a spot of trouble. Now, I only get to move 2 units. And that is the problem. If I move these guys like so, then Shenzhen is obviously open for occupation. But these guys will die. So I don't want that. But if I move this one here, I give up a resource. And I can't really help these guys anyway, because they're slightly better off. Not really, because then Japan takes a resource and then kills them. So that's even worse. We want to spend those Japanese attacks. Chang has not been the best placed, but that's okay. Or is it? I could move this guy up here. That's one move. And now at least there is some kind of resistance available against the Japanese attack. Thing is, if they attack here and take another resource, then they're definitely not gonna do a move in the south. Which is a good thing for the Chinese. This Chinese front is so collapsy. Mao is gonna hold the line here, obviously. Nobody's gonna mess with Mao and his elite 8 RTE. Yeah. The way things are positioned right now, there's very little risk of amphibious invasion in Shanghai. But that could change any moment. All the same, I feel like it's a good idea to maybe rail these guys up here. They will be flipped, which is a problem. I could rail them here as well, just to plug a gap. So if that is the case, then at least we would have something that would stop the Japanese from infiltrating further south, because otherwise this guy is toast. But okay, so that is one strategic movement. Can't really move this guy because that steals one of my moves up here. And I don't want to move this guy, because then I lose... Because he will just move in here and then attack and take that hex as well. It's better for China. If we're going to lose the 4-2, we might as well do it defending the resource, because that might flip these units, what happened in Beijing. There are no tanks around, so it's going to be an assault regardless. So that is, I think... If I'm not moving the 4-2, then I might as well move this 4-2. And then next impulse it gets there, and then it can be railed up here as well. Like up to Taiwan as well. And then we have a zone of control, and then we have something to stem the tide a little bit. Even though it's a little comfort, as it were. Yeah, I think that's the play here. Alright, we have done. Yep. Sending stuff to Africa. We have done the first impulse. The Axis second impulse. Let's go. Yep, the Japanese are obviously on a bit of a roll here. We have 2 naval moves, and we are going to use this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will get all the way up there. We only have the 2 attacks. So if I attack here, and that's a resource. We like yummy resources. So maybe we won't be attacking here. But if we do attack here, there's all this nice little area to just munch up, right? There's so much coastline. We do not have any ground strikes up here. Ground strikes happen before we move units. So we're gonna do a ground strike with Kaga. Since Kaga has a 6 air factor, the ground strike is 3, which is much better than the ground-based tactical bombers. So let's see if we can ground strike that unit. And we could. It is in fact flipped. So now we have a 4-1 with a +1 down here, and we have a 4-1 with no +1 up here. Interesting. We also have 3 movements. 3 land movements. I'm gonna use those, obviously. I can move 1 unit over here to where Hata is. And 1 unit over here. Slowly infiltrating, as it were. And then this guy can go here. That is 3. Just statistically, it's better with the 4-1 with the +1 here, and it's going to open up a whole new front. So let's go. 4-1 with a +1 in the south. China's in trouble wherever I go. And I roll a 2! China needed some luck though, didn't they? 4-1, I roll a 2, which was a +1, so it's a 1-1. That's not good enough for China, unfortunately. The Chinese infantry army did what they could to hold off the assault on Xiamen. But we did lose a Japanese marine, and the other one is flipped, and is not going to get unflipped. But they're across, so now China will need to mind 2 fronts. A Japanese marine is a heavy cost. It's a lot of money. The Chinese it was a profitable exchange for them over, I guess, all the terms, and now we've spent both the attacks for the turn, so all we can do now is infiltrate the lines around here, which is gonna give China a breathing room so the Chinese can go in there and block. So maybe it wasn't the best move I could possibly do. I was hoping for something better than a 2 on that roll. If we had, like, we have an average roll here, 4-1, we would have gotten... Okay, so we would have needed rolling a 4, which is still a 50-50 chance to be unflipped. So I think it was worth a chance to... There was a 50-50 chance of being unflipped and just being able to ravage through the lands in the south here with Japanese Marines. And it failed. It happens. It's... Dice gods be like that. Alright, so that is basically it. Again, the Italians, and if the British are sending infantry to Africa, which they clearly are, maybe the Italians should as well. These guys are from the Alps, apparently, but where they're going, there are no mountains. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they can just land in Tobruk. As for the Germans, no real need of doing anything. I could move Manstein here. Manstein. It's almost like I intend to do something bad against Czechoslovakia. Almost. A little bit, perhaps. But we can't leave the French border completely unprotected, so we're gonna need to send some guys over there to block there. Which I can. Here, let me go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Next turn we can... Next impulse we can rail the guy. Not sure that I want to abandon East Prussia entirely. On the other hand, I can build new units in time. On the third hand, they could just combine in Germany, and why am I overthinking this anyway? Alright. So that limit on attacks per turn is really what saves China. Again, I guess. This is just how the game goes. And needless to say, we're gonna move these guys over here. This means that Shenzhen is really exposed next turn, and I might just next impulse move this guy down to Sinan and possibly others with it. But that was 2 moves right there. That was it. The communists will move this one closer to the front, of course. Whoop, like that. And this guy, I think, is pretty well placed here. If we move Zhuko over here, then if a war breaks out, we'll have a quick connect between the headquarters and those units. So it's not a bad place for him to be. We can move the 6-3 out here. So we have space to fill in reinforcements in Vladivostok. And of course, look at this, like completely empty there. The Japanese will want to do something about that eventually. Now, the community vote was that the Soviets should focus completely on defense and just build and build, because eventually the Germans are coming. So it's not clear to me that the Soviets will be attacking the Japanese anytime soon. We remember from history the Battle of Khalkhin Gol, but that is 1939. It's a long way left. There is a way to simulate that in Days of Decision 3, which is... there's an option for that. But I still feel like the Soviets might want to have some extra units before they do that. And there's a winter coming. I'm sure the winter is going to treat the Chinese really nicely. Okay, that was the Allies. So we get back to the Axis impulse yet again. Yep, these guys are not getting anywhere because they're flipped. What we can do here, infiltration, but it's not going to be... I can't attack anyone because we've done 2 attacks. I can move this guy here. I can move this guy here. And I can move this guy... Oh, okay. We'll have to move that one there then, I guess. So they can get around the flank here and join the 8-4, because everyone else is nicely stacked up there. And that is basically it for the Axis side. The Allied side we're getting back to, and now things can start to end on this impulse. All in all, the Chinese have lost 3 armies yet again, but this time the Japanese have taken casualties in the form of a marine division and an army. So the Chinese have been able to bite back a little bit. And in terms of monies, yeah, that's, what is it? 5 points for a Marine and 3 for an infantry, so that's 8 points for the Japanese and 6 for the Chinese. Anyway, we're doing an Allied impulse, and definitely the Chinese will want to do something about this threat. There isn't a whole lot they can do. They're gonna slowly march this guy up here. They will want to have, but they need more people here to block, and they need a zone of control, so this is gonna be a nightmare. The only upshot with this is that the Marine was not unflipped. Oh, this guy should be unflipped because he did the shore bombardment. So there is no port here. We would have to... We can transport infantry here next turn to fill in. We don't have a whole lot of transports, but we could do that. It's going to take a while to expand the bridgehead, is what I'm saying. The Russians, the Soviets will definitely move the communist infantry there. So that means... No, we're going to wait. This is a resource still. Here's the problem. The communist Chinese cannot stand in the same hex as nationalist Chinese. Which means that when the time comes, we're going to have to do a switcheroo here. But the communists also cannot stay more than 4 hexes away from London. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They cannot stand in that hex. They can stand in this hex. We don't want to lose that hex because it is in fact a resource. So we're going to stop here with the nationalists. But in time, this is going to be like the communist line, and there's going to be a nationalist line here. It's going to be plugged. Anyway, I think this is basically as far as we're getting with the Allied turn. We have done with the Allied impulse. We have done what we could. There isn't a whole lot of other things to do. I don't think the French are interested in sending anything to North Africa right now because the Maginot Line and everything. So, no, the turn did not end. We go on to the Axis impulse. The turn is getting old, as it were, because we're out of moves and such, but that's okay. Why are you like that? Okay. So, 3 moves with the Japanese again. 1. I don't really intend to move the Paras, because next turn, when they are in this, they can actually do para missions. So 2 and 3. A 3 is not going to do a whole lot against the Soviet army of 19. So the Japanese will need to beef up the defenses there, definitely. Maybe send the 4-2 down there. Yeah, that's about it, really. We don't have any airstrikes, we don't have anything else. It's just infiltration and shuffling units right now. Let's go. Did the turn end? No, it did not. Allies get to do another impulse, which is good for the Chinese, definitely. Why haven't I reorganized these guys with Chung? Okay. Let's do that because it allows them to move, so I'm just gonna cheat a little bit and say that he did that before because I'm a tired boy. So now we have 1 there, 1 there. This Soviet unit here. And we're moving this guy here, I guess. Is heading for the mountains where he gets more defensive value. But yeah, things are a little bit bleak. I could move this guy over here for a 7 in defense. But we also know that it's 11 plus a lot. 7, that's 13. Plus all the shore bombardment, so... it's going to be brutal on Shenzhen anyway. So we're going to need some kind of defense line here south. And I don't think there's any nationalists coming in next turn. Maybe move this guy over here. And next impulse, these guys will be able to... No, I can do that now. I can do the switcheroo now. So I'm not going to move this guy. I'm confusing myself. No, but they can't go up there. Gee, I knew that. They can't go up there. So let's not do that. Okay. Let's roll and see if the turn ends. It doesn't. It's a long September-October, everybody. It's a long September-October. Okay, Axis Impulse yet again. The Japanese cannot move anything in the south. As before, they can move this guy here. It's just inside of the line of supply here with Hata. So next turn, we can expect a brutal attack on this resource right here. But not now, because we've spent the 2 attacks. I might have spent that invasion inappropriately, but I wanted to have the unflipped and everything. I am going to move that unit like so. And that unit like so. Maybe. That's 3 moves. Alright, let's go. See if the turn ends. That turn is over! And the Axis got 1 more impulse than the Allies did. So it's going to move down there. Look at that. Alright, let's have a look at what's next for us here. Partisan phase. Roll a d6. Where are the pesky partisans? At least if you are Axis. That is your opinion about the partisans. Norway, Spain, Bulgaria, Iraq, Yugoslavia, Australia, Canada, Netherlands, East Indies. Which is exactly nothing. How often have someone occupied Canada in this game? I'm just curious. Because that doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy thing to do. US entry phase. Yes, we do have one now because there is a major power at war with the democracy. So it's a -1 on the roll though because it's just the limited Chinese-Japanese war. So it's a 5 minus 1 is a 4 and that gives us a 0. So nothing. The US does not react any more than it already has. I don't know if there's any particular US entry option we would want to play. We allow the Chinese to build aircraft at entry level 9. And we do have entry level 9. We could play the resources to China. Allied major power can only give resources to China after this option is chosen. Then each major power may give up to 5 resources a turn. No limit if that major power at war with Japan. US convoys may transport anyone's resources to China. Before this option is chosen, the Burma Road may only be used to transport Chinese resources and build points, whereas after it may also be used to road move any resources and build points into China, not out. So, okay, let's do that. We will absolutely do resources to China, and that is for US entry. So now everybody can send resources to China if they so want. US entry goes up 4 steps for the US for doing this. And that reduces the effective US entry to Germany to a 1, to Italy to a -6, to Japan to a 9, and the USSR to a -15. That's okay. I think the Chinese are very grateful to get resources, possibly from the Allies, because it's gonna need it eventually. They didn't lose any resources this turn, but odds are pretty big that they will lose them very soon. Okay, production phase. A 6 instead of a 9. One. Then I must have made a mistake somewhere in the reckoning. I have a base. Oh, I need to remember the bases. We have 15 for Germany. We have 0 for Italy. 31 for Japan. 6 for the USSR. 21 for the US. 1 for the Commonwealth. And 10 for France. And that gives us 1 for Germany. -6 for Italy. 9 for Japan, and -15 for the USSR. Yeah, okay. Thanks anyway. Alright, production phase. Let's go. No, it's good that you keep track of me, because sometimes I get a bit confused. But I have a spreadsheet that helps me in this case. 5 money for the US. The US have no mandatory builds at the moment in the force pool, but maybe in the construction pool. Nope, not really. So, what do we build with the US then? Maybe we should simply build... The US cannot gear up next year. I'll build a light surface with the US. They're gonna need them. Those and transports. And these take much longer to build. So, light surface, there we go. We've done it before, we've done it again. It's $4. Destroyer groups are on the way. And that is 1 ship. The British have 6 production. And they have... This one is going to come in soon. I might as well build it this turn if we don't have anything else coming in here. Nope. Okay, so let's do it. We are building an aircraft carrier. I know it's a turn early, but it's fine. It's coming in, so I'm going to flip it. And it is the Furious and the Ark Royal. It's going to be expensive for Britain. All the 6 money went immediately into the aircraft carrier. And that is all that they're going to build. The French have 7 production. They do not have any mandatory builds there. Or here. Do I want to do any naval repairs like Bjorn? No, I don't. It's a fast thing to do. It's very expensive. It's a fast thing though. But nope, we want to build more infantry and fighters. Which is exactly 7 points, by the way. I'm not sure I'm going to build fighters now though. Because we already have 3. Which is a lot. We could build a tactical bomber. Let's do that. That would be 8 money altogether, which is a lot. That was a pretty useless tactical bomber. Honestly. Not the best build ever. The infantry wasn't too shabby though. So, French infantry corps. And a tactical bomber wing. Which is not impressive at all. But all the points will matter when the Battle of France begins. So, no ships for France this time. Definitely an infantry and an aircraft. The USSR will be building infantry to everybody's great surprise. For 1 money, 4 production per turn. Maybe, actually, we want to build a tank at some point. We're going to build a tank now. If we want to do an offensive in Asia, now is the time, alright? So let's build one, just to keep the Japanese on their toes. Okay, that is not a very toe-keeping tank army, honestly. It's a pretty useless tank army. Oh, it had to be built sooner or later, I guess. It will come in exactly when next summer comes in, which is not bad. Because that means that the Japanese will maybe have to watch their border a bit. The USSR didn't actually build anything last turn. Didn't have any special gearing limits for infantry anyway. Okay, who's next? Germany. No, China. China needs to build infantry. That's what China needs to build. Taking so many losses. We're going to go into deficit, I'm pretty sure. We have a production of 4. We have 5 money. We're definitely building 2 infantry if we can. Which we can. Boom. 2 infantry is coming in because we're a bit desperate here in China. And next turn, maybe there will be some resources coming in, though we have We need another prediction multiple. Because right now we have all the resources we need. Okay. That's not always going to be the case. Okay, let's go. Chinese infantry, let's go. And another Chinese infantry, let's go. Okay, nationalists. And one of them was good. The other one is basically a stopgap measure. But since we've had 2 Chinese communists coming in, maybe it's not a bad thing to have a couple of nationalists coming in too. Alright, that was the builds for China. Did I correct the money here? I did not. Let me fix that then. -1. Alright, we have Germany. Not entirely sure what I want to build with Germany, honestly. Tanks, probably. Gonna need those. We have some fighters. We're gonna need tactical bombers up the wazoo. We have some tanks coming in. We have no required builds here. So, 15 money. No required builds there. Strategic bomber could be fun too. We need to have some going against the British eventually. Those subs are generally more effective. Let's see. What do we have in here? 1 aircraft, 1 sub, 1 armor. It's not a bad build combination, is it? Okay. I'm gonna go wild here and build a strategic bomber. It's not a bad one. Build maybe another sub. So that is $10 in total, right there. Which means an infantry rather than an armor. I have 34 more infantry to build. We're lagging behind on the infantry. 9-4. Okay, that's some good stuff right there. So, an aircraft, a sub, and an infantry. $9-4. Be very afraid. And the strategic bomber, they take a long time to build. Having a couple of those to threaten British production is not a bad idea, generally speaking. Though we will need tactical bombers too, and they're gonna come. But they're much easier to build. They're not easier, they're faster to build. They're also cheaper to build. Cheesier. Words are hard at this time of day. I don't need coffee, you do. +1 money to Italy, which means no builds yet again. Italy has been very busy with political stuff and keeps being busy with political stuff. But we do need to start building things with Italy soon. At this stage, though, we do need 2 more resources to get full use out of the gear up that's coming in 38. So I think that Italy wants to get more trade agreements going with various parties. Japan, then. Final to build. Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes I'm more confused than others times. November, December 39. That is not needed now. What do we have here? 42 and 39. So no worries here. Okay. That was an expensive turn for Japan with 1 infantry corps, 1 infantry army and a marine. But oh, Japan has already built the... This is Japan gearing limit, not freaking Japanese gearing limit. Thank you very much. We've built the armor last turn, so we're gonna build 1 infantry, and it's gonna be the marine. Very unsurprisingly, because that is a marine we want. We have 9 money. And a marine is coming in right here. There is only one to build. It's the one that died. It's coming right back. And that is 5 money. So 4 left. I cannot use that to build another infantry because we had a gearing limit on infantry. It's going to take a while before those losses we took are completely recouped in the Chinese theater. But come March and April, there will be tank armies and stuff. So in May, there will be blitzing. May of 38, there will be blitzing in China. We have cleared the skies, and I didn't build any aircraft with the Chinese because the Chinese just need to really just block the Japanese advance here. There are plenty of naval bombers to build. I already have one. And I don't feel it's very urgent. It's 1937. I have some tactical bombers left, but I already have one. Don't know if I need more fighters out here now that the Chinese air force is destroyed. So that's nice. Maybe I should just build a light ship. Like a destroyer group. Because they take forever to get in as well. So let's use that opportunity. It's either that or a transport. And that's a good destroyer group, so let's go with that. They take such a long time to build. Now I do need HQs, and I do need more infantry. But we also do need the light surface units, because sooner or later there's going to be a reckoning with the great American Navy. And then we will need escorts to stop them. So, there we are with that. Okay, that was production for all of them. So now we have to return to base and final reorganization. So, we are returning to base. I guess I can return to base in Fiesta. We are returning to base in Alexandria. Now Gort has someone to keep command over. We are returning to base to Japan and to Formosa. And that's it. Okay, final reorganization. Everything gets unflipped. As always. It is going to be interesting, to say the least. If November, December offers bad weather, then the Japanese assault will just absolutely stall, and the Chinese will get breathing room. If November, December offers fair weather, China will be in a great deal of trouble, and the Soviets might need to act to stop further deterioration. Of the situation over there. Oh, I didn't rail the guys that I was thinking about railing. That's okay. There is time. I could fix that, mind you. I had moved. I'll fix it next turn. It's a bit tricky when you're doing a lone playthrough, because there is a lot to keep track of. But I think at least one of those could probably be in the Urals by now. Alright. So that is where we're at. I think we have unflipped everything. It was primarily in China. And we have completed September, October 1937. We will keep playing this to the bitter end. And you can follow, subscribe, click on the bell icon on YouTube for further updates from the War Room. Thank you very much for tuning in today. And we will see you next time.